welcome to your April 28th Power Hour meeting with Katelyn, Carly, and Clare Fulton. How has the week been? Did we miss a week? It was Easter, right? So it's been 2 weeks. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why it feels like we have a lot to talk about. How's it been the past 2 weeks? Is everyone waiting for today? That's what I'm hearing. I don't fully understand how the results of today will impact what people's life changes are going to be in terms of buying and selling real estate, but that's the feedback I'm getting. People are waiting, I guess.
Did we all vote today?
Or did they early?
So you're all going to vote after?
Yes.
Does anybody know how many people voted in the last election in all Canada?
No.
Probably low.
Like there's 40 million people in Canada, right? How many people voted last election, I wonder?
Oh, yeah, you don't know your
I don't know. I just want
we thought you had to check. Everyone's like waiting for your
Someone want to
answer.
get on ChatGPT
No, I
and
don't
Google
know.
that?
No, because we had 7 million people already voted in the pre-election, so that's a record, I think.
Okay.
So I
That's
think a lot of people are more interested.
I think people want some change.
So 16 million people maybe voted, but will vote.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. That's the key. Everyone should vote.
17 million.
17 million last year. Okay, so we're already at 7 in the first 3 days, whatever it was, 4 days. So that's good. I think people are paying more attention this time here.
I think so too.
It's too late to talk about what the platforms are, because if you don't know by now, then you'll never know, right? So.
It's true. Yeah.
But Dad, we need help.
Hey, no, it's too late now. So last thing we're going to do is recommend who you should be voting for. It's up to you guys. So
How many people asked you and said that they're going to vote for who you vote for? Did you get that
some,
question last week?
some people did, and then as soon as they said green, they said, well, I'm not going to do that. So.
That's your way to feel them out.
But REM did a survey. It just doesn't mean anything. They're not making any political statements here, but they're saying here they did a survey with 1,600 realtors and asked them who they'd be voting for. And they asked people between the ages of 40, over the ages of 40. Only 674 responded, so it's not a big thing, but how many? 54% they'd go for Pierre Poilievre, and 38% say they'd go Liberals. So that's realtors saying that they're going to go Conservatives, but who knows what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. I think NDP is going to get wiped out, and then pretty much those guys are gone Liberals. That's the polling thing I'm hearing about. So
Probably. You know. That's what it's showing right now, yeah.
Yeah. Trump doesn't care because he says that Canada shouldn't be here anyway. So.
No, this morning he said Canada should be here.
That's what I say. What are they voting for? They're waste of time.
That's terrible.
Actually, I just made that up.
Yeah. I mean, it's believable.
There's news.
But actually, though, so after today, we get the results, then what? And all the buyers come back out again? Or, like, that's confusing me.
So, yeah, open houses. Who did open houses? I know that somebody did an open house up in Markham. Anybody else?
I didn't see a ton in the emails this weekend.
I saw
normal.
lots. I got a notification. I had about 10 or 12 in both days. So lots of people were doing open houses.
I think there was more over the long weekend than this past weekend.
Really? Okay. But what are the buyers saying? The buyers saying what? They're waiting for the elections, or waiting for what are the buyers telling us?
The next rate announcement.
The feedback I'm getting on one of our listings in EO6 is house is really nice, buyers are not ready yet. So not that they're waiting for today or a rate announcement, but that they've either just started looking, or they're just browsing, or they're going out again the next weekend. So I think
That means they're just started shopping.
they're just taking their time. I don't think they're feeling any pressure. I don't know.
There's definitely buyers out there.
They're out
We've
there.
got a few
Oh, yeah,
listings
'cause
that are active
we're getting
right now with
showings.
no offer nights, and they're getting lots of showings.
Yeah.
No offers, but
The
there's
showings are
buyers
there.
out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the showings are happening. So
I guess
that's why I'm...
Nelson would probably know that one.
Yeah.
Did the showings go up?
They were okay.
Around close to 300 again.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There weren't very many offers typed on Saturday, but about yesterday, I think there was a few more yesterday, right?
Not many.
Around 15 for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Maybe people are waiting for election
I actually
day.
thought it was
I don't know.
busier on the long weekend than this past weekend. Even my phone felt busier on that long weekend. Maybe because people
Which is
had
weird.
an extra day, they were out and about.
Yeah.
So the stock market, as we speak, is pretty much flat. So the TSX, so it hasn't gone down, hasn't gone up. Well, it's
Okay.
gone up a little bit, but that's flat. So that's all good news.
So rates stayed the same, stocks are stable.
And I think the stocks, overall stock market, if you're interested in that, overall stock market did drop about 5%. at the worst, I think it was, right? And now it's come back, it's only down about 1 or 2%. I sound like my financial advisor. You guys have a financial advisor like that? You go to the bank and say, I'm down 5%. Don't feel bad, you're doing good. How's that? Everybody else is down 3%, so you're ahead. Or you're down 7%, whatever, right? So, anyway.
That's true.
So, no, I think a lot of people are waiting for the next rate announcement, but the last one didn't do anything because of the politics, I believe. So I think after today, we're going to have, there's going to be a decision. There's going to be something solid, right? I think that's all everybody wants.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what Trump does or where else. It's to make a decision. Like, do we have tariffs or don't have tariffs?
Yeah.
Right?
You just want some-
Is it 145% for China or is it 60%? Like, make up your mind. Like, every day he changes his mind, and that's what's screwing everybody over, I think. Indecision. So let's get this election past us.
That's true.
That's one more indecision that we're concrete with.
Yeah.
And I think that'll settle things down.
I think so too. Yeah.
You know, and then how they're going to deal with him, who knows? But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to be a whole lot of things for nothing. I think he's just shaking the trees, and he realizes it's not going to go the way he wants it to go. I'm talking about down south, and he's going to have to give up something.
Yeah, something's got to give.
So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. But then our people here, Elizabeth Anderson did a really good post today. People are changing their lives. People are changing jobs, they're moving, they're getting married, they're getting divorced, they're moving cities. So there's still stuff happening. People are still changing their life. They're still moving on. That's what we will focus on, right?
Good. Let me just go into the numbers here, just so what's happened in the marketplace itself. We're actually over 28,000 active listings right now. So you got 28,079 I had last night. Now the numbers I use, just so you know, you can probably knock off about 10% because I use everything. I don't dig deep and find out exactly what's there. I just go what's available. It could be lockers, could be parking spots, everything. But it's about 10%.
Yeah.
So it's about 28,000. So when Trump comes out with their numbers in a couple of days, probably next week they'll come out. There's probably about 25,000 maybe, but still more than most of you guys have ever experienced, right?
Yes.
And then the question would be, if there's 28,000 listings out there and the buyers are out there, there's nothing to buy?
There's a lot to buy.
Or what I've been saying for the last month or two, that the sellers are putting properties on the market at 28,000 of them, but they're not putting them at prices that are going to make them sell.
That's true.
In June, it's going to be more than 30,000.
I think so more.
Could be, yeah.
Unless we sell a bunch, right? So we're going to sell a whack too.
I hope so,
But I just wonder whether the sellers, are we having sellers that are, who's got sellers here that property's not selling?
Yep.
Any listings here not selling? Condominiums are not selling? Okay. And they're not selling for what reason?
Holding on the price.
Price.
It's price, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, right? And they're trying to force things down. In any case, so we got 28,000 active listings, 12,600 are condos, 15,400 are freeholds. Now I'm going to separate those in two different, just to give you an idea what's going on. There 45% of the active inventory are condos, 55% of the active inventory are freeholds. So just remember that number, 45% condos, 55% freeholds, right? Of the 28,000 properties that are available right now, there's almost 10,000 are vacant. So it's like 30% of the properties are vacant. If I split that down between freeholds and condos, freeholds, 28% of the properties are vacant, and condominiums, 44% of the properties are vacant. So that's quite a bit, right? But the sellers still won't reduce the price, right? Sales over 101%. There's about 26% of the properties being sold right now are being sold over asking. So there is a method there. There's a room for somebody to be doing that. 31% of the freeholds were sold for over asking. Take a guess how many condominiums sold for over asking. Well, no, there were some. 15%.
It's not zero.
So half the properties, right? You gotta be careful. I mean, talk to Nelson again about when you're pricing properties, you're trying to generate multiple offers. I've seen some listings now that it'll say offers anytime, because some agents aren't used to like they want to see offer dates, so offers anytime. Some people are asking. Okay, so they're asking their target is 1.4, let's say, and they're asking 1.2 with an offer date. And they're getting offers for 1.2. All right? So is that a far enough spread? Nelson, look at Nelson here. Is that a far enough spread? 1.4 and list it for 1.2. Is that enough spread to generate multiple offers?
It's almost
Too big of a
200K.
spread.
Maybe 1.1, I think, you have to go.
And actually, I lied because I'm thinking of a particular property. It was 1.4, but they're asking 1.299. And so the strategy is too close. It's too close to the target price for multiple offers. You got to make it a stupid price at 1.1, 1.2 to make it obvious that it's not there, because some agents don't do their homework, or the buyers don't do their homework, and they say, oh, look at this property here, 1.2. Let's get it. Let's give them an offer 1.99, and that's what's going on. So if you are going to do the multiple offer situation, you got to make it so obvious that it's a silly price.
Yep.
Who did that recently? I think we had one on Birch and Birkdale.
We had a lot of offers, I think.
Yes.
We had one at Midland and Ellesmere. It was listed for what, 600,000 or something crazy. Yeah, 599. And is it firm now?
Yeah.
So it sold for 830 something, right? 29 offers, and guess how? Of the 29 offers, 25 of them were less than 499
I believe it.
or 599.
It's great. Like when you're an offer, Nate, usually only 2 offers are good
Yeah.
from our
Now
experience.
somebody else had one. Steve, did you not have one? Who else had? Somebody else had a low ball offer on a Scarborough property. Did you have one last or 2 weeks ago? Right?
Yeah.
What was your price? 600 something.
799, they offered 680 or something.
What was your goal?
9.
Oh, yeah.
So you had it listed for
799.
799. Your goal was 900.
In the 900s, yeah.
And did you get any offers?
Yeah, we had 10 offers, but one of them was like really low. We sold 925.
Sold
okay,
900.
okay.
Okay, all right.
But you had some low ones.
But you had a bunch of low ones
Yeah.
too. Okay, so
There's
that's-
always that.
Yep.
One like was under like.
Yeah, you almost want to prep your clients. Like some of them will be under asking. Don't be offended when those ones come
Most
in.
of them.
We want those, to leverage them, but you have to prepare them for that because otherwise they get offended, right?
Was there only 2 that, like one usually hits it out of the ballpark, and then there's a second one that's like kind of there, usually conditional, but like not bad.
Yeah, there were.
There's usually 2,
Yeah, there was a couple, 3 close.
3, yeah.
There were
And then-
there, like it was close.
And then the rest are kind of meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we're telling our clients about the offer Nate strategy, we tell them that the price should feel like we just punched them in the gut. Like it should be so low that it's like almost a little insulting and it feels scary. That's how you know it's low enough.
Yeah, he was nervous.
Yeah, you should feel a little nervous. If you feel too comfortable, like it's like, oh, let's just make it 100. It's not gonna work.
We had a weird situation this weekend too, where an agent had multiple offers and she sold it firm, and then the next day the agent
yeah.
came back being like, "Oh, we forgot to put a home inspection in it,"
He
and then they
misunderstood.
like missed it by mistake, and then like, what do you do? And the agent's like, "I don't know what to do. Like, do I let him do a home inspection now?" And it's like, you don't want to piss them off either, but
we did.
They did.
No,
they
we
allowed
did.
it.
It worked out. They firmed up. That
It worked
same
out,
day.
but that was an interesting.
Well, that was weird,
I don't
yeah.
know if that was by accident or if that was a
Yeah.
strategy.
I don't know.
Because like, how do you forget a home inspection?
I don't think so.
Yeah, someone else.
I don't know if anyone else has been seeing that.
But they did do it the next day by 5 o'clock.
Did they do it before the deposit or after?
No, they had
I
it.
remember
They took it with them to do
so
the inspection. But in different markets, I would say no way. In this market, you got to make it work.
kinda have to
If
cooperate.
you don't
It's
have
awkward.
We didn't have sketchy feelings. We actually did have some genuine. It was a mistake. The client was okay with doing it. It's always up to the client, not us, anyways. So
I think that was the second one. Another
I've heard
offer
it
came
happen
in. They were. Was it? No,
They didn't know they were firm. That was the opposite.
I think there was one where it was firm, but they wanted to do a visit with the family
yes.
before they dropped off the deposit. And again, that puts everybody in an awkward situation because you don't want to say no, but you also don't want to say yes. And it's kind of like an awkward,
It's a big dilemma.
it's a very weird match that we're seeing. So we've seen that a
Yeah.
couple times too, and agents don't know if they should be mean or polite. This
yeah.
one, I think they allowed the showing before the deposit, but it was still like trust.
So if you're in a seller's market, today's market's a little bit different. You're in a seller's market and you've got multiple offers. You might want to tell the guys, only offers I'll present to my seller that come with the photocopy of the deposit check.
Yeah. And people aren't even doing
Because
that.
during the hot days, people win and they say, "Oh, I paid too much," and they wouldn't come up with the
That's
deposit check, right?
Yeah.
Used to be rules years ago that you every offer had to have a copy of the check. That was a TREB rule.
Herewith, yeah.
Right? And why it stopped, I have no idea.
Probably because too much time to go to the bank, get a draft, and then have to go return it. I don't know if it costs money to do that either. Does it? Yeah. Like $10 to bring it back and get it put back into your account.
It's a lot of effort, yeah.
So sales for the first 27 days in April, unfortunately, they're down 25%. We've got about 4,751 sales. Last year at 6,300 at the same time. Break it down for freeholds, condos and freeholds are actually down 20%, and the condominiums are down 33%. Now, I went back to the active inventory. I said that on the active inventory, 45% of the properties were condominiums, 55% were freeholds. If I take the sales and divide the same thing, I divide the total number of sales and figure out what percentage are condos, what percentage are freeholds. So again, listings 45% condos, 55% freeholds. Sales are 66% for freeholds and 34% for condos.
That makes sense.
So even though there's it's about a 10% difference. So that again tells me that condominiums are slow.
Yeah.
Right? That's just
They're still more desirable
that's all
for
that's all it
single
tells me
family,
there.
yeah.
Daily 170. Sorry, yeah. Dailies 176 per day. We are though 10% ahead of March. So the first 27 days of March versus the first 27 days in April, we're actually up 10%. So we're actually doing better as the month comes along.
There's our spring market.
Right, and a bit of a spring market. I think the weather out there is going to change things too. I think as soon as that sun comes out there, you're going to see a lot of people wanting to do things.
It's true. Coming out of our shells.
All right, let's hope so.
I mean, yeah, people
Leases, 16,700 active leases. There's 7,000 freeholds, 9,000 condos. Vacancy, there's 35% of the properties are vacant, same as the sales. 41% of the condominiums for lease are vacant, 27% of freeholds are vacant. Leases are actually up 10% from last year, and believe it or not, the sales from last year versus this year, they're up 2% for freeholds, they're up 14% for condos. So it kind of confuses a little bit here. So condominium leases are actually up 14%. Is anybody trying to lease properties right now? Are we trying to find more buyers or more people wanting to rent right now?
I feel like it's picked up a little bit.
I'm thinking ahead to pick up because people aren't buying, right? So they're not buying, so they're leasing.
There's not that many, like, I don't know, unless you're like the lowest price, you're not getting, I keep getting a lot of fake documents too. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, we have a lease listing.
Yeah,
we have
so-
over 30, 40 showings now.
8 offers over the week.
8 offers, none of them are qualified.
All of them lied.
All of them lied or just not qualified?
Or they like omitted their credit score. One of them, like
Yes.
something or another of like some shade. Someone lied about who their landlord is.
Are you guys seeing that in the rental market? Like it's really hard now to qualify, find good tenants. No, Elio saying no.
Everyone's going through a divorce.
Yeah.
That's what we said. The only people buying and selling are DDDs, right?
No one's just moving for fun.
Yeah, like
They have to have real motivation, right?
yeah.
But if you're representing a tenant, be careful. Also be careful what you tell the tenants. Why you're turning them down. I got a complaint this morning. The guy turned them down.
Yeah, we just had that session last week with Vita that was pretty good actually on
Yeah.
what our role as an agent is in the facilitating, of a transaction. And yeah, we just got a complaint today.
She's
that
saying we
was-
should be more scared of the human rights committee versus the landlord tenant board. So you should be more scared about rejecting people for anything because they may take it as a human rights issue. So you have to be very careful with the way that you reject people. It has to be a reasonable reason why you're rejecting them. You can't just.
It can't be a human rights
It can't
issue.
be a human rights issue. It could be like, yes, your credit score is too low. Done. Like that's factual.
You don't have to give them a reason though.
You do apparently, but it has to be, yeah, like apparently you do have to give a reason if they ask, but so when you are giving a response, it has to be very, very correct. Like you have to be like, your income's too low. Your credit score is not enough. Like it can't be your family's too big or where you're from. Or you don't have a job. Apparently that's not an excuse. Even that's discriminatory.
Yeah.
It's very, you have to be very careful.
Income. The key is income. Having income.
I know, it's very,
You can still be
very
unemployed
strange.
and have income coming in. That's the message. It's not about having a job. It's about having income coming in.
Yeah.
Right? But there was quite a debate last week between people, like there's a philosophy the landlord says, well, I say no, it's my choice, it's my house. I say no, it's no. But then there's a whole other philosophy of human rights and discriminatory action. You can't discriminate against people, right?
You can't say, oh, you're a young couple. No. Even though they're well qualified, like, I don't know, you just have to be
It was a
very-
good session though. If you weren't there, definitely, I think there was a recording of it that you
watch
sent
the
out.
recording.
so-
She even gave us a good amount of resources that I put in the Google Drive for the Systems for Success tenants. So there's like qualifying questions, ads, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably
One
scared.
agent actually sue the other agent
Yeah.
for the lease.
Yeah.
They're saying that they don't like kids.
Yep, you can't say that. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So it can't be about them.
Unless you had a condo building that has bylaws that says there's
says
no
no
children.
kids.
There are some ironically, buildings that still exist like that today, not many, but anything that was built
Yeah.
like in the 70s was like that. But
I think for pets, even you cannot say.
no, you cannot discriminate against
Nope,
pets.
can't do pets unless it's a condo that doesn't allow pets. So just be careful. Sometimes you can get away with just saying, my client says no, and they don't push it. But sometimes they will push it, and then you gotta be, I'd call Beta before you even give an excuse, to be honest. Email Beta, be like, what should I say? And she
Yeah.
might be able to help. She gives a lot of good, she responds quickly to emails. If you guys ever have questions, just go to her.
Yeah, well, part of the message was that as agents, we take on too much responsibility in facilitating this. Our responsibility is to introduce tenants to the landlord and let them decide. We are here to market the listing and introduce them to tenants. We're not there to help them pick a tenant or decide if it's good for them.
was a big
or-
debate,
That's
too.
not up to us. We're here to market the property and introduce tenants to the landlords. When you're declining people, be careful, because it's not you declining somebody, it's your client, and it's based on factual, legal things.
How long single key does the background check? Any, is it for 5 years, 6 years?
I'm not sure.
No idea.
No.
Recently, I came across one. It was my listing, and single key was good.
Yeah,
We were about to rent it.
yeah.
And then landlord found out that tenant, possible tenant, one arrest in 2013 for murder and cocaine trafficking.
Wow.
Now we were in fix because single key didn't show anything.
You want to repeat that for the audience?
Oh.
So the landlord found out themselves that the tenant had a criminal record.
Yeah.
And how did he find out?
You Google it and
Just Google the guy's name.
The single key didn't catch it. That's a good thing. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
So that is the reason I wanted to understand. Because
I think Google search was on her list of things to look for a tenant.
Yeah, Beta had a list of things to do. Google is
Googling,
one.
yeah.
They even had another website where you can actually look up to see if that tenant's in an active case or something, or even a previous case.
That's good that
with
your
the board.
landlord did it themselves, because it is their responsibility to do that.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I cannot say it was a failure of mine.
No, no.
I mean, I did single key.
Of course,
Single
that's
key
okay.
was okay.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
That's good. They should do it. But even Beta said that we shouldn't be taking on the responsibility of screening. That should be the landlords think that is our job, but to save yourselves, it should be up to the landlord to do it.
they paid it. They paid for it.
Yeah.
They initiated it. But I said.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. They did the screening and they found it, and then they didn't accept them, right? Yeah. So that was the screening process.
Because, I mean, 3 months back, they removed the tenant, paying them $15,000 to take out the earlier tenant because they stayed, 3 people entered the property, stayed 9 people.
Yeah.
Sandeep, you've had a lot of fun ones. You had one where the girl, we don't know for sure, but her HR employment letter
Yeah.
looked legit, and your client was like, no, I work for that company, and that's not her role in the company. Like, you got some good detectives for clients. So.
So that was my own condo. And some family from some country. And I saw the letter, employment letter, and the employment letter was signed by one of my best friends. So I called that guy. I said, I'm having a letter with your signature. He said, what letter? Some tenant. He said, yeah, and he told me the salary is 45,000. I said,
Oh, yeah, the salary was off.
55,000. He said, no, Sandeep, I signed the letter. Salary is 45,000. This is the designation. I said, no, it is everything is changed. I signed the letter to him. He said, it's a fake letter. My signature, but they removed 45, made it 65. Designation.
So just for those folks at home there, so somebody doctored their employment letter. They made it from 45 to 65,000, right? And then the employer found out. So I wonder how the employer is going to deal with that.
He said, Sandeep, number one, we are going to complain it, and the agent who submitted the offer, either
You don't know where the agent
We
did
don't
it
know
or
who
the
did it,
tenant
yeah.
did it, right?
didn't
That's
ask
right.
us.
Yeah, we didn't want to know. We just said, no, we're not accepting her.
I can't imagine the agent doing that.
Yeah, that's what I told. Agent.
Can you imagine doing that as a tenant too? Like,
It's not enough money to be fooling around like
I'm
that.
so naive. I can't imagine anyone lying on anything.
So we had one last week there where the last 4 digits of the driver's license didn't match their birth date.
Oh my gosh.
That's the details.
And then
Wow.
the work permit they had started on May 13th, whatever year it was, and ended May 13th, whatever year it was.
Oh.
Anybody see a difference there? Because usually it's the 12th, like there'd be the 13th or the 12th, it'd be like 1 day difference, right? So usually it doesn't go to the same day. So if you're looking at these things and not doing the key things or whatever else out there, make sure you pick up on the couple. And everybody knows, like just so you don't know, the last 4 digits of your driver's license match your birth date, right? Everybody knew that.
Nope. Nope. Things we learned today in Monday meeting. It is different? Oh.
I'll explain to you later.
Some are different, I noticed. I read that too. Sometimes it's different if you, for whatever reason, right?
I think it's because I moved to another province and I came back.
So it like shifted the.
It could have been, because this guy was from Quebec, so you're right. So it could have been. But
You can also check open room too, right?
Yes. Yeah, open room. check
Open room's
cases.
another one you can double check, yeah. I'm not familiar with open room just yet, and the only reason why I say this is I'm not sure who's vetting it, because I think it's a free service, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So who's vetting the complaints?
Like who
if
uploads
I'm
it,
just
yeah.
mad at my brother-in-law,
Sure.
I'm going to report him as being a deadbeat tenant. What's to stop me?
I would still think they're dramatic enough for me to not take them as tenants.
They upload judgment from the
Okay.
landlord and tenant public
So those actual
site. You
cases.
just can't go in there and start.
Just
These are
can't-
actually judgments that get from
They'll-
the public
they'll-
Okay,
sector.
good.
They'll go to Canley or something there. They'll actually go to okay.
Yeah, they'll get the judgments on there, right?
And why are they doing this?
Sorry?
What's the incentive for somebody to do that?
Well, I think it was just the person who started was a landlord that got screwed
That's right,
over
yeah.
and just had this vendetta and decided to do this.
You know, I'm getting at like why like if it's a free service, then why?
I know. I think they were mad at the world for not.
Eventually, it'll probably escalate to.
Maybe they'll get a nice database and be able to start charging.
Maybe.
Not here, but he got a report from Open Room from a property manager that we couldn't match in the regular Open Room when we put in this individual's name. It didn't match what Michael Smith was able to get from this property manager. So I'm not sure if there's a premium service maybe, and that's.
I don't know. Leases are scary. Just what
So we got a complaint from somebody saying human rights because they turned them down, and I don't know how do you turn somebody down? If in this case here, it was.
He just said that there wasn't enough bathrooms for the amount of people that they wanted, or he was asking the relationship.
concern they
of
had,
them.
there was 3 brothers and 1 girlfriend.
Yeah. A boyfriend, girlfriend, and 2 brothers. I don't know if they were
That's what I'm
related.
saying.
No, but the agent's responses was good. It was broad enough to say, based on all of the information we've received, including a credit score, which wasn't
He did say credit
satisfactory,
score.
which I just saw you Google it. But the answer is no. But this was a Facebook ad, so we don't know this person. This person's probably been rejected multiple times.
It sounded like they've gone through this because not a lot of tenants just go to RICO
No, but that's-
and bring up human rights and all that. You know that these are probably professional tenants with the type of wording.
But you do need to be careful online. You do need to be careful about how you're declining tenants because there is human rights issues, right? So that's the lesson for everybody as well. Just be really careful in what you're saying to tenants to decline them.
How common it is to have a wrong data on GeoVeros, is it?
It's a little bit common. I don't know in terms of percentage, in terms of like a name or information or square foot or.
Yesterday I visited one property in Kitchener. We came from on the driveway. We called the agent. We liked the property.
Okay.
And I said, I did my groundwork. And I said, how long the owners are holding the property? He said, they bought it 4 years back. But the GeoVero still shows the property owner is somebody bought in 2012, which means real names are not there on the property. The rest of
That's
it-
not a common mistake. When I say common mistake, it could mean square footage could be a little off, lots are a little off. Names, there's 2 sections in GeoWarehouse. You have to be careful. One says party to, one says title to. And I've noticed there's some discrepancies between those 2 headings. So maybe check on your desktop computer versus your phone to make sure we get all the details. It was on your computer, still wrong. Either it's not registered
Could be a
properly
human
or
error.
he's lying. I don't
Also,
know.
he's, the listing agent is, he said, I will talk to GeoVeros. I said, unless I see that, otherwise
Sure.
any of the lawyers are going to, I don't want to put the effort. After 2 months, we realize that there is some issue.
Well, yeah, you do a requisition search before closing and stuff still anyways. But,
My experience with GeoWarehouse is that the way I put it here is that some human beings typing there, so sometimes they make mistakes. In this case, just something got missed altogether.
Maybe,
But sometimes you'll get the wrong address, you'll get the wrong spelling,
Wrong
you'll get
pin.
the crescent rather than like CR.
search for it
CRS
by their
versus
name.
crescent, right?
Do you have the seller name? Search for it
Yeah,
by
I-
their name instead of the address and see if a different legal description
So
comes
I
up.
searched on ARN PIN number.
Yeah, try with their name.
Try in the name, yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen that before.
Yeah.
It could be easy, just put a wrong PIN number or something
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're
I've
not
seen that
correct.
too.
Yeah, I always like searching by name. You get the most accurate results that way. Just quickly about tenants before we move on to a different topic. Apparently York Region, you can do mediation now for landlord-tenant board issues. Did you guys hear about that? It was a pilot program that happened before COVID and they just brought it back, saving a lot of wait time. So you can go have a mediation either in person or on Zoom, and they'll try to mediate between the landlord and the tenant to come up with a solution. They'll actually do like a memo after saying what everyone agreed to and move on. It saves you from having to go full on landlord-tenant board act and waiting, 6 months to a year for any resolution. So in York Region, there might be some quicker resolutions for people that want to do mediation. All right, where should we shift now? We had a good presentation at Center Court, Pickering City Condos. That was a good presentation in general because of course, it was a sales pitch to sell the remaining 40 units, but it was also about spring market and how to compare resale to pre-construction. Obviously, acknowledging that the pre-construction market is down for sure. But what are you guys seeing? Is condos a decent investment because of all the incentives? Are you telling clients, no way, just either don't buy a condo or stick to resale?
I'm talking about pre-con, right?
Yeah, well, just condos in general. Because still the prices of resale are way under what they're selling at pre-construction, except that you're not getting all the incentives.
How much
right?
are they asking per square foot there?
So this particular project, they're right in line with resale, about $800 a square foot for the remaining 40 units that they have left. Not necessarily what they sold at for the first 2 towers, but they're trying to offload some inventory. They're trying to be quite competitive for Pickering resale right now. But other competitors in the area are still about 1,000 square foot. Yeah, for Pickering. But I'm reading 30% of Canadians are now saying condos have even lost investment appeal altogether. So it was such a hot thing for a number of years, and now maybe it's finally sort of come to its end, and that's why we're seeing more purpose-built rentals. And I've got some other articles to talk to about that as well. We're still down in purpose-built rentals too, but yeah, Canadians overall not seeing the investment potential. Tiny units that are not selling now, lower rents, just high prices. So I don't know when that's going to come back, but right now I'm not going to be having lineups for worksheets, I don't think, for pre-construction projects for a long time. It's going to be a bit different.
Which is fine.
I think we're going to have more bidding wars in the resale world than we are worksheets for pre-construction. But yeah.
This is where you go to pivot.
So I read an article here by this fellow here. I haven't got it here, but I have to do it from memory here. So if I haven't got it right, that's fine.
Okay.
But he's talking about investors. Remember during the peak of the pre-construction, like 25% of the properties being bought by investors, right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe this one too.
And what this guy is saying here is because these investors, and he's blaming the government for everything. He's not blaming investors. He's blaming the government for having cheap money, like 1%, 1.5% money, cheap money, right?
Yeah.
He says he let all these investors come in there and buy all these properties, jack up the prices to the point where the first-time home buyers are being outpriced.
Yep.
But he says the worst thing today, though, now is that these same investors who jacked up their prices, the government now is giving them a hand up by allowing the banks to have 100% financing and do blanket mortgages on the properties.
Yeah.
In other words, so somebody bought a place for $800,000, it's worth $600,000. The banks will close their eyes and say it's worth $800,000. So basically, they're giving the guy a 100% mortgage. And what he's saying here, this is not the free market. This isn't the free market things. And all they're doing is they're maintaining artificially high prices for the first-time home buyers. He says no wonder first-time home buyers can't get into the market because the government keeps on screwing them over. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who's backing that? Like, why are they allowing the governments?
The government's saying that it's going to be it's going to bankrupt the builders or something or somebody if they don't close their eyes to the mortgages. This is the Bank of Canada or whoever's saying that it's okay to do 100% financing, and this guy's saying that that's not how the free market works.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
No, it's correct.
I mean, I don't see any investors sharing their profit. Well, I guess they did share their profits, paying their taxes. But it's kind of curious what his position is, and his position is the same as mine. When people came to him, and myself for that matter, and say, what do you think about pre-construction? I always said, if you plan on pre-construction, make sure that it's a good investment. Make sure that you put enough down that's going to be break-even cash flow. If it's not break-even cash flow, then you're not an investor. You're a speculator. You're a gambler. So
Yeah.
buy 10 of them, right?
Which
That
some people
was
did.
always the answer. So this guy's almost the same attitude. But kind of curious how that comes down. Eh?
No, it's true. But yeah, the door is more open now to build purpose-built rental, but the government does need to step in to give incentives to do that. So both parties are trying to do something. But purpose-built rentals will allow other opportunities for ownership because they're going to build 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom proper units, not teeny tiny little units that are going to be appealing to investors. Now they can build proper units that will be satisfactory to families and who want to rent and who either don't want to own or can't own, right? So it's going to give more opportunity. we're still showing quite a lot even of purpose-built rentals. So I think in another meeting, I made a comment that was like, oh, now we're going to have too many, but we're still not even close to the amount of rentals that we would need to support demand. So if the government picks it up and introduce some programs to allow that, that will be really helpful. And then I did finally see for the first time a building that's doing purpose-built rentals that's cooperating for commission. Did you guys get that email on the weekend? It was in Richmond Hill. Let me just find it if I have it here. Parkside Square is in North York. They had an open house April 29th and 30th, 2 p.m. You can go bring your clients. So they're going to treat it like a pre-construction event, except that it's purpose-built rentals. So they're doing commission for broker referrals. One deal, 1 month's rent. If you do 3, you get 2 months rent. A 1-bedroom suite is about $19.12. There's some incentives and some things that they're doing. So starting at $2,200, but after an incentive $1,900. So maybe if you go to the event, they're doing some incentives or something. But it's kind of neat that you can get paid commission now on these purpose-built rentals. Maybe you'll see more of that. If you're going to do rentals anyways, might as well go with a brand new building.
You get a full month.
You get a full month's rent. I bet they do all the paperwork for you too. It's a referral, so you're just introducing the client to them. So all you need is a referral form, and maybe we'll see more of that. This one's right at Shepherd and Consumers Road, so not a terrible location. Brand new building. If you're going to do rentals, I know you don't always want to, but might as well. Why not try it? And the open house is not a bad thing just to go and see what's happening there too.
And more builders now are converting to the purpose-built rentals.
Yep.
Right?
They have to.
And what they're finding here, well, they can't sell anything. They sold what? The first quarter or something, they sold how many condominiums? I'm going to guess. I think it was like 643 units the whole quarter.
I think they talked about it this week, last week too. It was like
hard.
500 or something.
Right, it was hardly anything else.
Yeah.
But all kinds of projects have been put on. They've been on hold. There's 28 projects have stalled in the GTA Hamilton area. They've just held back. Some units are switching to the purpose-built rental, but it doesn't. What they're doing here doesn't help the affordable rents because all these places here are renting for more than what the resales are.
Yes. Yeah, and they're
so it's not affordable housing that these are things are for. This is going to be premium
and that's why the
luxury
government,
buildings.
Yeah,
so.
the government needs to step in though and do some incentive to get the cost down. So it's not a luxury building. Some people are trying to do them furnished too, which is jacking up the cost. But people don't want furnished apartments; they want their own furniture as well. So, yeah.
They're talking about co-ops too.
Oh man.
Did you read that? You guys remember what co-ops are, right?
I think you should explain it because some people might not. You don't see them very often.
All right. There's co-ownership and there's co-ops and there's condominium, right? Condominium, there's co-ops, co-ownership. And what's the other? Fractional ownership, but co-ops, they're supposed to be for low housing. It's supposed to be affordable housing. And the idea is that you don't own the unit, you own a percentage of the corporation. So the corporation owns the entire building and the individuals own a percentage of that entire building. So they could own like 3%, 5%, whatever it might be. The buyers have to be approved by the board of directors, and you can't get financing these things. You got to pay cash. All right, you can't get financing.
Is it?
Probably, yeah. You got to be interviewed by the board. The board's you're renting, not renting. You're an investor. You got to move in. Like they have certain criterias, right? But there's one right down at Crombie Co-op. You'll see if you ever take the GO train downtown. You'll see one down at right down at Front Street there. There's a big co-op there. I think it's Crombie Co-op. I think it was named after Crombie. Mm-hmm. But this one here is in Scarborough. This is going to be at Kennedy Road in Midland, right across the street from the new Kennedy GO station. But the problem I have with it, hopefully it's not going to be the design. It's going to be this design. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not. Can you see that on the camera? Can you guys see that?
Probably.
It looks like 1960s psychedelic, groovy.
They just took the architect drawings out from then and.
and I was thinking this thing will look wonderful the first couple of years, and then after that it's going to look like crap.
Yeah, no, and that's so weird.
It's a weird looking building, and they said they want to change it up. They don't want Toronto to look like a bunch of just all these cookie cutter condos. But this I think is overboard.
Is there even balconies, or are those just circle windows?
No, and the circle and some of the windows are sideways.
No, that's not real. No.
That can't be real? Okay.
No.
Is that AI generated?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. ChatGPT thing. Who's selling in Durham? We have half Durham people here, right? Probably online as well. Similar to the Clare stats that he's reported, there's some areas that are very popular for overbidding right now, and there's some that are not working for overbidding, so holding offers. So of the neighborhoods in Durham, these are the top 5 neighborhoods that go into overbidding, so go into bidding wars. This is where multiple offer strategy might work. Number 1 was Westney Heights in Ajax. Number 2 is West Shore Pickering. Number 3 is Pickering Beach Ajax, Applecroft Ajax, and Hermitage Park Ajax. Does that make sense for people that sell Ajax Pickering? It kind of makes sense from what we see in terms of pricing and bidding wars and things like that. And the top 5 underbidding neighborhoods, so this is where maybe a pricing multiple offer strategy would not work. Number 1 was rural Pickering. Number 2 was neighborhood of Scugog and Scugog. Number 3 was Blue Cross Creek and Whitby. And then also Uxbridge and Taunton and Oshawa. And that makes sense too, based on some listings and things that I've seen as well.
A lot of new builds in rural.
Yeah, and those
Taunton.
rural kind of north areas, new builds. So, multiple offers not working as well, probably less access to schools and highways and things like that. But just if you've got clients looking in those Durham areas, just something to note as well.
My turn?
Your turn if you want to.
This guy had an opinion here. It's just an opinion. This guy's a builder. And his opinion was it's pretty strange how in Toronto, everybody's talking about we're in the middle of a housing crisis. So isn't what all politicians talk about, housing crisis? We're in the middle of a housing crisis. And he's saying if we're in the middle of the housing crisis, why are we building even fewer homes than ever?
Yeah, like literally, like record-breaking low of houses.
Right? And then these guys here, Polyev and the Liberals and the Conservatives are talking about giving a GST break, a 5% break to the builders on the GST, but they're saying that might knock off $100,000 from the cost of building a home, but they're still $300,000 overpriced. So it's still not where they want it to be. Mm-hmm. But this guy's right. So how come they're not building more? Middle of a housing crisis. Do you think I don't know.
No, he's saying there's quite common ways to fix it. Like he was talking about Canadian savings bond and using that similar business model in housing as well. But there's really clear ideas and policies they can introduce. But for some reason, they're not.
They did something really good in Brampton and Melbourne back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Looking at Elio here. The federal government bought the land and let the builders build the houses on the land, and then they leased the land to the buyers.
They still have some houses.
There's still like, and so basically what it did, it dropped the price pretty much in half. So all the buyer was paying for was the house itself, the land itself they leased, and the government owned the lease. That was a good deal. I think so if they want to do something, that's a great deal. It puts people to work, makes it affordable, and lets them pay for the land over 25 years, I think the lease was. And you can pay the land lease off anytime you want, but the only problem was, again, you can't get a mortgage for longer than the amortization on the lease, so that was a problem, right? So if you had it for 5 years and you sold it, and there's 20 years left on the land lease, you couldn't get a mortgage that amortized longer than 20 years.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
But anyways, that's I didn't see a single politician talk about that, and that worked fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Creative financing.
All right.
Yes. Did you guys read that we're getting a new area code? We have 647, 416. They predicted that by 2026 we would run out. So they've introduced, we have 437 too. There's now 942. Yep. 416, 647, 437, and 942 is now a Toronto area code as of last weekend. So now we have 4. 289, is it Toronto or?
289 is in Toronto.
No, but I have seen it though. It's Ontario? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So that'll be making your spam calls harder to read now. We actually have a whole bunch of 416 numbers. We should sell them maybe. We have some from when every single desk had a phone, if you guys remember, from
We're taking
before we renovated. We just did this last year, I guess. So now we have all the phone numbers that match those. So if anyone wants a 416 number, let me know, because I ported them. I'm the keeper of them, but we don't use them. They're a hot commodity. You can make some money maybe. I didn't know this existed, but there's a residential renovation price index report that gets sent out every quarter that takes a look at different types of renovation costs based on what's happening in the economy. So it comes out every quarter, and it takes a look at fluctuations in material and labor costs, and it's just to help homeowners plan for renovations. So there was an actual national increase since 2020 of about 0.5, but in 2025, it actually stabilized a little bit. But they are predicting that in 2025, evolving trade conditions, shifts in global supply chains, tariff adjustments, and changing demand are going to play a role, obviously, in driving up costs of key materials and labor. So some of the things that were noted for the third quarter of this year, things like roofing, windows, and doors were among the highest costs of increase in renovations. And then for the fourth quarter, projects involving concrete and stonework, as well as those focused on solar panels, fireplaces, and solar panels and fireplaces are going to receive the most amount of increases of this year. So just some things to note if your clients are doing renovations. So there's an actual report that measures the increase of costs of all that and labor as well.
You're on roll.
And Katelyn can go eventually. This was kind of cute. I don't know if you were going to share this or not, Claire. This is the Tales from the Street. It actually was a good way that an agent handled this. He accidentally, during a showing, I guess his client slipped and fell and ended up putting a hole right in the drywall. And it's not a little hole. It's actually quite their whole foot went in the wall. It must have been a bad fall because it's right at the bottom of the stairs too. But he sent us a picture right away, sent it to the listing agent, said, "I'm so sorry. This is for my client. I'll pay the damages, whatever it costs. Let me know." And he sent a picture, but he came clean right away, didn't try to hide it or wait for the listing agent to call and figure it out. He just called himself out, put it out there, said, "Let me know the cost." And that was a good way to handle things.
That's the perfect way to do it.
Just don't hide, just be transparent. This happened, so sorry. It was a fixable thing. I don't know if our agent responded or anything. I'm sure he was he mad or was he okay? I don't know. But we were okay with it. I think it's nice to put it out there. And
I don't know. When you do a mistake, even in any situation in a deal, sometimes just offering to pay to fix the problem will make the problem go away.
Yeah. Our insurance wouldn't cover stuff like that, right?
No, but the homeowner's insurance covers it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
But
then
if they want to make a claim,
but it's probably a $200 fix, and they probably have a $500 deductible.
Yeah, exactly. It just needed some drywall. But if mistakes happen, things happen. So just come clean and be open about it.
That was professional.
It was professional. Yes, it was nice to see. My last thing was these are financial tasks you can do now to make things easier on your kids later. So these are for your clients that are getting ready to downsize, or you yourself if you're in a life transition. But they talk about, when the parent dies, settling the affairs is quite challenging for the kids, especially if things are not organized in advance. So these are some things to make things a little bit easier in that case. Top priority is writing a will. Everybody should have a will, especially if you have a mortgage as well. This allows the executor of the estate to access bank accounts and make decisions about investments in property much more quickly than if you don't have a will. So the will outline who's responsible for that and what happens. Your will should accurately reflect your intentions and discuss those intentions with your children. It helps them with their own financial planning on knowing what to expect, and then it helps curb any friction between the siblings as well. Power of attorney. There's two types of power of attorney you can give someone.
Just go back to wills. Some people here do not have wills because of their culture. They don't have wills because they think that it's like a death wish or something. I don't know what it is.
I can see it's superstitious.
A lot of cultures don't do that.
Sure.
But just so you know, I would have a fairly complicated will, let's say. But I did mine in 20 minutes. And I told the lawyer, says, whatever I get when I die goes to my wife, and when she dies, it goes to the kids. Where do I sign? Signed it, done. So I didn't get into who gets the ring, who gets the whatever, who gets the cups, and I didn't get involved. It's just a very blanket thing. So if you're not doing it because you think it's all complicated, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Doesn't have to be complicated, and the message is you don't want your kids to have to figure all this out for you, because they're not going to be educated. They're not going to know what your situation
Claire
is.
just left the cups responsible for Mr. Side, so
you guys can fight over the cups.
We're going to be fighting over that China. But no, it doesn't need to be complicated. There's online websites that can prepare it for you now. I think there's so many ways to do it, right?
ChatGPT, yeah.
For sure. There must be a legal ChatGPT for sure. Power of attorney, there's two types. One is personal care that allows your child or a trusted person to make decisions about your health, living arrangements, or other aspects of personal life. And then there's a financial or property POA that will allow you or designated person to do things such as pay bills, manage investments, talk with the bank, deal with financial things like CRA. Having a POA for property will be crucial if you're out of commission for a long time. You may have pressing needs, paying your mortgage, renewing your mortgage, things that need to happen if you're not able to do that. I don't like the word of this, but it's kind of fun, and I'm sure, Claire, you have one. It's called a death binder, and it's where you list all of your bank accounts, your names of important people, passwords, insurance policies, anything that that person managing your estate would need to know to get information. So just having everything organized right now. You could probably call it something else, like a life binder, maybe instead of a death binder, but just having things organized is the main point.
What I've done,
I knew you would have
if
one.
anybody
Yeah.
cares,
Yeah, we do care.
have an Excel sheet and I have all my account numbers and I attach it to the will.
See? Simple.
Simple. It's
Doesn't need to be
not complicated.
complicated. Yeah. These are good life lessons.
Yeah, and I have all the account numbers and where they are, and that's it. So.
Yeah, and that helps you insure in general, just keep organized, right? They're even talking about simplifying your investments, so keeping everything in just one or two financial institutions, not having everything so spread out. Usually the child has the task of gathering all the money into one account, paying final expenses like funeral costs, tax, filing tax returns, so just having it kind of consolidated in only one or two max accounts helps things out. Can be also very time consuming when you have multiple banks and multiple accounts. Also means simplifying your investments, so if you're having a portfolio, you may want to sell them or pass them down. You will have to sell them or pass them down to beneficiaries. So even having simple portfolio will help in that as well. Things like private equity, private company shares, real estate makes tasks even harder. So imagine that the child or the executor has to now sell this real estate instead of having the liquid cash available. This is a big one too. We see this with most of our clients who are downsizing, unfortunately, but keeping your house clear of clutter. So if you don't clean your own house and you're hoarding your stuff, you've been in your house for 30, 40 years, you always collected a lot of things, the person who's going to be taking care of your estate, probably your children, now have to take care of all that stuff. And a lot of the times we take a new listing, the person's passed away, it's the niece or the child or somebody now that's clearing out this house, and it's literally like you got to call a junk company, clutter. It takes forever to get a house like that prepared. So this is a way to help your children, help your estate by clearing that clutter now so that you're not left with a whole bunch of stuff. So I wish I could tell most of my friends that now while we have the energy, get rid of the stuff.
Stop buying things.
It's spring right now, just start purging. We don't need the things. I know Senec's got some stuff right now. He's doing some decluttering too, and yeah, there's lots of stuff. It happens, that's okay. Don't leave these tasks till you yourself are older. Things happen, illnesses, accidents, premature, all unpleasant realities, but do your kids a favor, tackle these tasks now so that they don't have to as well. So get organized. I think
More life lessons?
Yes.
Life lessons?
Yes,
I've
please.
done that many times.
Yes.
And I've always done it by myself.
Most do. There's always
Yeah.
one
So
kid.
if you're ever involved with somebody, if you're involved with clearing a parent's house or aunt's house or something there, go by yourself. Don't go with anybody else, because what do you want to do with this? Oh, I don't know. Do it here, do it there. Once you're by yourself, boom, boom, boom. Trust me, I've done it.
I know, yeah, and it's a big burden. It's a big burden to take care of all that stuff, the estate, the physical stuff, the care, like it's a lot of work. So whatever we can do now to help our generation.
So Bob Aaron here, he wrote an article, it's kind of funny you're talking about. Bob Aaron is a lawyer that he's been around for a long time. He wrote an article talking about people that put their kids' names on title of the properties. Anybody asked you about that?
Yes,
No, you
for
haven't had
financial
that?
reasons,
They want,
yes, we have.
the parents want to put their kids' names on title, so when they pass, it's going to be easier. Or, I don't know, what's the logic? What would be the logic?
They think that they're going to save tax because when they pass, now the kid's name's on it, but I think you're going to correct that. That's not how it works.
All right.
So.
So just so you know, when people are going to ask you those questions, first of all, what would be the probate tax on $1 million house? Anybody
Actually,
guess? 50%. Guess? What would be the probate tax on $1 million house? All right. According to Aaron here, $1 million house comes to $15,000 in taxes. Is that 1.5% or 15%? It's 1.5%. So you're right. So it's 1.5%. Condominium, average condominium would be $9,600. So you're not talking about millions of dollars, okay? So you're talking about 1.5%, number one. That's one part. And then they're saying you got to be careful because you don't know. Once the kid's name's on title, depends whether it's joint or tenants in common. Most cases it'd be tenants in common, I assume. No, joint tenant. Joint tenant, so right of survivorship. But anyways, that kid can mortgage his half of the house. The kid, right? Or the kid can go bankrupt and whoever went bankrupt can go after half his assets, or his assets would be half the house.
You gotta really trust your kid.
Right, so there's other things going on here. So they can sell the house, they can mortgage the house, they can do all these types of things. Not that any kid would do that.
Yes, in my naive world, no kids would do that. No, that's
No,
terrible.
a kid would do that to invest in their I don't know, their business of some type, and the business is going to be fantastic. But unfortunately, we know that 10% of all businesses, survive. The others don't. Anyway, so it's just not straight. You're saving 96. You save 1.5%. Is that enough to make that happen? You get married and the marriage breaks up and the wife wants half your assets, so you want half the house. You get that too, right? So that's it's not as simple as you might say.
Yeah, so we recommend talking to some sort of estate planner, lawyer, accountant to make sure. And we get the question a lot as real estate agents what we should do. We're not estate planners, right? We sell real estate, so there's other qualified people out there to give good advice on that kind of stuff. ChatGPT is also a very good resource.
Just 2 more things, and then Kate, you're going to do? What time is it now?
I'm going to talk for 2 seconds.
You are? Okay. So let me just... Okay, so Treb listened to us, apparently, finally.
I wasn't going to talk about this.
So they're going to have flexible options. So last December, which is the worst time, they made you pay $2,500 in fees and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they're going to give us an option next year to be able to split it into 2 payments or do something like that. So it's not going to be a one big hit right away. So that's they should have done that in the very beginning.
It is a good thing.
I don't know why they changed it.
Most boards are charged a monthly
Christmas
fee.
time.
So yeah, Christmas time, December, it's pretty tough.
So we'll know more about that later on.
But I have as a broker, does that mean that I have to double check that people paid twice now a year? Because I do it once a year. And now do I have 2 audit periods? I've got to make sure you paid your second installment. I'm curious about the mechanics now. Do you lose your license? What's my responsibility now as a broker if you don't pay your second installment of TREB dues? I don't know. Gosh.
Oh, gosh. Every quarter.
I think it's one more thing to remember. I think I'll probably just still pay my one.
I'm just going to put this on record because it's being taped, right? So be careful with expired listings. I don't think anybody here is doing expired listings, but if you were, you cannot identify expired listings through MLS, just so you know, right? This person here wrote an article. This person here is with On the Block Realty. On the Block Realty is another one of those disruptors that's going to disrupt our whole real estate business, and they're going to do auctions. That was the idea of their whole concept. But now she's complaining. She wrote a letter. She's complaining because one of her listings expired. Well, I thought your system was wonderful. How can an auction expire? Anyway, so her listing expired, and what she's mad about is that all of a sudden her seller got 9 people knocking on her door and sending her letters trying to say, "Oh, I noticed your listing expired. You want to relist?" And what she's saying is it's completely against the law, it's completely against the rules, completely against the Privacy Act, and she says we have to have a profession. We got to make sure we don't do these things. So, and she says you got all the excuses. Well, I knocked the neighborhood, have them knock on that door. He says it's not true because we have the Ring camera. The Ring camera shows you getting out of your car, come to the door, knocking on the door, dropping our package, go in your car, and driving off.
So definitely targeted.
Right. So she's got all the answers. So her thing here isn't to sort of tell everybody what's going on. They're saying here's the rules, guys. We got what kind of profession are we to abide by the rules? At the same time, you've got to make a living.
Exactly.
Right. And here's some poor guy thinking I'm going to list with On the Block and sell my house. He never did. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be farming an area and you notice the guy's sign was there and it's not there anymore, you're not identifying that expiry from MLS. You notice from the street and the sign's gone. You door knock in an area and the neighbor next door says this guy here tried to sell his place, but his sign came down yesterday or something. I don't know what happened there. So these are things you're finding out legitimately, but you're not targeting MLS. All right? And nobody trainers nowadays. Not a trainer. Not Mike Ferry. Not. Who? Rich Robbins. Everybody says expires are illegal in Canada.
Mike Ferry still talks about it, but that's because it's allowed in the U.S.
They say in Canada it's not allowed. So it's very clear right there.
Yeah.
So
some people go to Mike Ferry events and they hear that, and then they come back confused when we tell them they're not allowed. So there's some coaches that are American that don't have those rules.
And
so just be careful.
And agents will come to me and say, "Well, so and so does it all the time." I said, "Okay, that's great, but what are you going to do when you get caught? I don't care about so and so." All right. What are you going to do yourself? What words are you going to have? How are you going to defend yourself? Because it's pretty with Ring cameras. There's all kinds of stuff going on nowadays. So be careful.
True.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I only have a couple minutes before. What's that?
The best thing is you can knock on the door for the same one and then you go 3 up and 3.
There's no law that says you can't knock a neighborhood.
Yeah, she just her name.
You can do 3 more.
Well, you can do you do the whole neighborhood.
Just don't tell the sellers that you saw that they expired and that's why you're here.
I've seen some expiry packages, not from this office, other offices. It says, well, who's the guy? Walter Sanford years ago, right? He would give them a firecracker, a red firecracker, and inside would be his letter. And then it'd open up the letter and it would say, "Bang, your listing expired. Now what are you going to do?"
That's a
I kinda like it.
lot of proof here.
He was a funny character, right? And then he would have this off topic. He would have a follow-up letter to that, and he would take a piece of paper. He'd write his follow-up note saying, you know, and he'd rip it all up, and then he'd put it back. So the guy would get it'd be all ripped up, and it'd be his same flyer he had, right? And said, "Don't throw me out this time."
That's good.
Right? I can help you.
That's funny.
That's
Right?
good.
Anyways,
I had his package.
yeah. So those are the old days. I got his disc.
I didn't have a whole lot because I only have a couple minutes, but this Wednesday we have some financial planner accountants coming in. I don't know if anyone's deep in accounting or taxes right now, but the Prec Planner ladies are going to come in person on Wednesday at 10:30. They're going to be talking mostly about financial planning and what to do with your commissions. I think they're talking about TFSAs, RSPs, and all that stuff. So if you've been wanting to know how to be a little bit more financially responsible,
Your
it's a
taxes-
great session.
You have to pay by that day. So if you owe taxes, you have to pay by Wednesday. You can file
Wednesday?
You can file June, but if you
Well, the
think,
accountants will be here.
if
so
you did a rough calculation and you think you didn't pay enough, you owe the money Wednesday.
There you go. So that'll be Wednesday's session. Next week on Wednesday, we're going to bring in Remarketer. I know some people are using their programs. It's the site that we use. We use their home evaluation tool for lead gen. So we're going to have them do a presentation for you guys. It'll be a webinar, so it's not in person, but I'll send out more details for that. That was kind of all I had. I had a little bit of notes. Actually, I just wanted to make like one funny comment from last week that Sanic did. I was listening to chat. Sometimes being in the office, or my guys that are online, sometimes when you're in the office, you get to hear a lot of chit chat and like hear the other agents talking to clients. You get to watch everybody do the realtor pace when they're on the phone. And one that Sanic was doing last week, he probably doesn't even know, but they're always talking about objection handling for commission and how to handle that. And Sanic had a very different switch to it, which I liked, and I thought I would present it to you guys. But he was on the phone with a client that's pretty difficult and thinks that he's running the shots. He's the guy that's going to tell you how to do your job kind of thing and doesn't listen to what a realtor is going to say. So Sanic's taken over this listing, and he was talking about commission, and he had a funny line where he said, "Listen, I'll do 1% if you listen to me and you do everything that I say. But if you don't want to listen to any of my advice, it's 2.5%. So I thought it was a very interesting, it was like the total opposite of what an agent would say. They'd say, I'll do 2.5% and you listen to me 1% if you're going to tell me what to do. But Sanic took a switch and said, if you want me to discount it, you have to listen to everything I do and I'll give you a cheaper commission rate. But
And he's like, no.
But if you're running the show, then it's 2.5. So you're going to pay me more to do your route, or you're going to pay me less to do my route. And very interesting take on it, but I don't know where that ended up going. Do you know what he picked?
No, we still got till June.
2.5.
Okay, so in June we're going to decide, but if you guys are ever fighting with commission and you guys want to have a little bit of fun with your client, I would use that one. It probably confused him even more, to be honest.
Did they respond?
No. Well, we have till June.
Yeah, but did he make a comment on that? Okay. So
I think he was confused.
it is confusing. It is confusing because you're like, I'll charge you cheaper if you let me run the show, but if you're
Because he wouldn't.
because you know it's going to be a nightmare, and it's a big thing for a lot of agents when you guys are discounting your commissions. Typically, the clients that want you to do the cheapest commission, the cheapest price, they're typically the most vocal and most difficult clients that you work with because they're choosing the shots. They want to decide what color the sign is, what words are written on the description, what order the photos in. They're the pickiest ones, but they're also the ones that are doing it for 1%. So If you guys want to have some fun with it, switch it up a little bit.
They want to use your license.
They want your
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
license,
that's
but you
it.
got to do it the way they want.
Correct.
So if that's the way it's going to go, it's full commission. If you're the boss, like, and I got to listen to you this whole time, it's full commission. But if you're going to make my job easy, and that's just for those types of people. But just a fun statement. We had a lot of those objections last week. We even had clients saying, yep, we want you to do it less and less, but we still want you to do every single full service. So it's very hard to talk to clients these days on services and trying to, in price. They want the highest price, but the lowest commission, full services, lowest commission. So it's happening a lot.
Yeah, the question I'm seeing a lot, which we should do a whole session on, is the house hasn't sold in 2 months. We want to hire another agent. And so now we're having conversations about keeping the listing and not canceling. And so we should have a whole session on that. That's coming now too when the sellers are getting mad that the house is not selling. And we know the answer is price, but they're also not reducing the price. They think hiring a new agent is going to sell it.
Yep.
No. So, yeah, we have a lot to talk about this summer then.
Nelson, I don't know, you use this statement. I always say that we're not taking responsibility for the market. Our job is to market the property, and we've had 100 showings, and we've had 2,000 views on MLS. It's your job to put the price. It's our job to market it. We've done our job. How about you?
Yep.
Which is the price.
Yep.
And I'm not taking, because it's not sold, I'm not taking responsibility for the market.
That's true.
No.
Yep. Good.
Cool. And then we just wanted to introduce, we have a new deal admin. Her name is Jasmine. Did you want to bring her up? Just
No.
her name? Okay, so she's shy. So if you guys start to see a new name on the deal admin side, her name is Jasmine. She's got some good experience. So if things are a little off for a little bit, just know that we're in the middle of training. But so far she's caught up pretty good. Yeah. And she's adding to Samantha and Heather. So Samantha, Heather, and Jasmine.
Good.
Anybody else want to talk about any properties?
Any questions online or anything? No? So we'll see you all Wednesday.
Going.
Renovation report in the chat.
Sure.
Tomorrow we will know either liberal or conservative or.
Who's asking?
We're gonna know at 9:15. No, 9:30 the polls end, right? So
And then how long does it take for them to tally it
last
up?
time it took them 10 minutes after the last poll closed. So
Mine wasn't digital though. My early polling didn't have the digital thing.
No, that's
did it?
only,
It's only the
provincial or municipal.
provincial. Okay, that
I was
makes
gonna say
sense.
today mine was manual.
Yeah, federal
Okay.
is not.
this is one of the problems with,
I was like, oh God, it's gonna take a
Canada
long
being
time.
so big, right? Because they started voting in Newfoundland, right? And then they finished in Victoria. So by the time it gets to Victoria, they've already said who the winner is,
It's true.
right?
Do you know why it's not digital? Like this one?
I don't know, because the provincial is digital, yeah.
It just, I don't know.
I don't think they've adopted them. People in Yukon.
All right. Well, we will see you.
So when you vote, just I heard that generally when you vote, there's 4 or 5 people to choose, right? 4 or 5 different parties. But I think the Polyev party, there's 40 people on his ballot. So people are screwing around. Right? There's 40 people on the ballot in Carleton and Ottawa.
Oh wow.
There's 40 people. I read there's 40 people
How?
that are on
How
the
many
ballot.
parties?
5 minutes to look at the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. To confuse you?
Well, I think people are just, I don't know, they're trying to make a point. I don't know what it is. But
Okay, good.
anyways,
Well,
we'll see you what happens tomorrow.
Okay. See you guys. Let us know if you need anything. See you next week. See you Wednesdays.